So today feels a bit like a confetti moment. Yes, I have been dressing up for this occasion in my favorite, most colorful dress I have. I think it really do a good representation of this podcast with having all these bright colors, and there is flowers that I see that represent growth and a bit playfulness with it. And it's such a joy to just make it flow. Yes, and what am I celebrating? This podcast has now been alive for a full year. One episode every single week, through different seasons, through different levels of energy, clarity, and sometimes even doubt. And when I sat down to look at the numbers, I felt genuinely humbled. Close to 250,000 streams. That's 6 digits, 250,000 views and listenings. Wow, and seeing that really gives me a boost. But I'll be honest, there has been moments where I didn't quite know what I wanted to say, where inspiration didn't arrive neatly on time, where I even found myself wondering, doubting, should I continue? But I had made a decision about what I wanted to create, for how long at least, and just as importantly, what good enough meant to me. And that has carried me through, because as much as it matters to me to give something to you, if you have been listening week after week, it also matters that I keep my promises to myself. And maybe that's where I wanted to begin today. Not with performance, but with direction. I'm Hanna Zaxmy, your leadership coach, and this podcast is your confidence boost in color. Let's go. So during my coaching training, we were given a metaphor that has stayed with me. That each of us has a ladder, and at some point we place that ladder against a wall and we start climbing. And it can be quite easy in that moment to just place it against a wall that looks really good. A wall that seems solid, logical, expected. So we start climbing, and we climb step by step. Effort, progress, momentum. Till one day we look around and realize that this wasn't where I wanted to end up. And then comes the question, what do I do now? Do I climb down? Do I try to shift sideways, or do I stay? Because I have already invested so much, come so far. I once knew a painter who had mastered a very particular technique. He could stand high on his ladder and actually jump sideways with it, moving across the wall without climbing down each time. It looked impressive, but even then, it was still the same wall. And over time, I realized something. Life rarely looks like one wall. It's not that binary, not that fixed. It's more like a structure with different levels, corners, hidden spaces, and often it's not about one ladder, it's about several. Which also means it's not just about choosing the right wall once and for all, it's about staying connected to your direction as you move, as you explore. A while ago, I heard another version of this metaphor in a different way. There was still a ladder, but this time it didn't lead to a wall. It led to an attic, and I love that. Because in this story, there were 2 people. One climbed up, curious, wanting to explore. The other hesitated, unsure. And the attic became a symbol, not of a final destination, but of something to explore, a direction, a possibility. Because what do we usually find in the attic? There are a lot of stored pieces. Old boxes, things we once thought we might need again, parts of life that we haven't been fully explored or perhaps set aside. It might feel a bit messy, dusty, and even dark at first, But the longer we stay, the more you begin to see. There is an artist I really appreciate. His name is Erik Johansson, a photographer and digital creator. He creates these surreal, almost dreamlike images where multiple perspectives exist at once. And one of his works is called Second Attic. In that image, you see someone standing between two attic levels, having just discovered another one above. And that image stayed with me because that's how I've come to see growth. Not as reaching the right place once and for all, but as a discovering. There's more, another layer, another space, another perspective. Not because where you are right now is wrong, but because you are growing. And at this time of year, there are many people graduating, stepping into adult life. Listening to their dreams is refreshing. And at the same time, that quiet question often appears. Is this the right decision? Is this the right ladder? I often go for walks. It's where I think, reflect, and let things settle. And quite often I walk together with friends on the phone, each of us on our own path. Different routes, same conversation. A few days ago I spoke with a friend. I have known her for about 10 years now, and we both have lived through a lot in those years. Everything from deep challenges to moments of bubbling joy. And what I have appreciated most is how we have continued to listen to each other, to the nuances, to the shifts. And during that call, she said something that I treasure. You're really moving in the direction of your longing now. Before it felt safer, more careful, but now it's with a deeper, more grounded kind of courage. It's driven by your heart. And I paused, because sometimes we need someone else to reflect back what we can't yet fully see ourselves or explain. For me, talking things out, thinking out loud is part of how I find clarity. I hear myself, I notice where something feels aligned and where it doesn't. And more, I've started to trust something simple. Let longing guide the steps, not pressure, not expectations, but longing. Because longing carries information, direction, and energy. And now, 47 years into this life, I feel grateful that I'm beginning to understand this more and more. Well, not perfectly. There is still much more for me to learn. But I can look back and feel thankful for all the ladders I have been climbing and all the attics I have been exploring, because they have brought me here. And maybe you are listening to this at a very different stage of life. Maybe you are standing at that crossroad. Maybe you are about to graduate. Maybe you are taking your first step into adult life and wondering, is this the right decision? If that is you, I want to say this. Move in the direction your passion is pulling you. You do not need to rush everything. You do not need to have the full picture. Take one step at a time. Explore. Try things out. For me, the journey has taken me through IT, financial institutions, and leading change in so many different shapes and forms. I became a certified coach at 37, so no, that was not the same attic I stepped into when I graduated at 19. And here, on this attic I've been exploring over the past few years, I found something else again. I've reconnected with building something closely linked to who I am, my story, and my family. And on this floor, I've also opened up more intentionally to connect what I do with my faith in God. Like seeing the Bible not only as something personal and spiritual, but also as a place to learn about leadership, about courage, responsibility, wisdom, and love. And maybe that is what another attic can do. It doesn't replace what came before. It a bit gathers it, the experiences, the longings, the skills, the faith, the stories. And finally, or suddenly, not sure, you begin to see how they belong together. So what happens next? Yes, the podcast will continue. But maybe more importantly, the exploration will continue. Like another attic, another step. And yes, I feel like I'm on that ladder right now, just a few steps away from climbing into the next attic. If you've been here for a while, you will recognize parts of what I share. But it won't stay the same, because I won't stay the same, and neither will you. So perhaps the question to take with you today is this: where is your ladder placed right now? Which attic do it lead to? And what is the calling you want to explore next? Is it the same attic, or is it the next one? Not as a final answer, but as a next step with the explorer hat on. If this sparked something for you, a reflection, a question, or a sense of direction, you're always welcome to stay close to this work. Through the podcast, there are a lot to listen in of the other episodes. I have a newsletter, or through coaching. I work with both individuals and teams. Just reach out to me, and I support each of them to lead with more confidence and courage, and to use their leadership palette in a much stronger, more colorful way, bringing their vision to life. Because leadership isn't about having it all figured out, it's about continuing to explore, step by step. If this resonated, feel free to leave a comment, a word, or even just an emoji to share what it sparked with you. So be confident, be you.